If last month was about Chelsea finding themselves under Maresca this season, this month was the month that Chelsea announced himself. It was a month full of big game tests. Tottenham, Barcelona and Arsenal, yet Chelsea end the month of November completely unbeaten, only picking up 2 draws. And come the end of this season, we might be looking back at the month of November in very favourable light as the month that Chelsea started to believe. So my friends, sit back, relax, and let me break down what we learned from Chelsea in the month of November. The beginning of November brought forth its first London derby of the month as Chelsea took on Tottenham away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Spurs Chelsea, I love the rivalry.
And it doesn't matter how often the Blues break Tottenham's heart, it never gets boring.
Now, this month was about setting pace in the right way. Tottenham was probably the perfect opposition for Chelsea to really flex their big game credentials, and flexing is an understatement, as Chelsea tore apart Tottenham in their own stadium. João Pedro was finally able to get his first goal after a very long scoreless streak, with Caicedo doing exceptionally well, acting as a terrier, honing in, closing out passing angles before single-handedly winning his pressing battles before finding João Pedro inside the box. Looking back, this game against Tottenham was the blueprint for all of Chelsea's big game success throughout the month of November, because Tottenham were the first victims of this new look Chelsea's unrelenting physical midfield press. Reece James, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez are clearly the big game midfield 3 for the big occasions, and they played their part in reducing Tottenham to only 3 shots the entire game, with 1 on target, with us racking up 15 shots throughout the game and leaving the game disappointed to not have added 2, 3 or even 4 goals in this game due to some very inefficient finishing, which costs us in the next game. Thomas Frank's Tottenham team were rightfully booed off the field, and even media outlets couldn't hide their disdain, knowing that Spurs looked lost and that Chelsea's midfield matched the host physically and restricted them to absolutely nothing. November started perfectly for Enzo Maresca's Chelsea team as players were starting to return back. Players out wide were performing. He has found his big game midfield 3, and most importantly, he found a settled back line which he could reliably call upon, as this was the first game in which Chalobah and Fofana played their first games as a duo together. Chelsea's 1-0 win against Spurs was the first signs of small warning shots being sent out to the rest of the Premier League. Only 4 days later, and Chelsea found themselves travelling 2,979 miles to the city of Baku in Azerbaijan as they took on favourite whipping boys in the Champions League in Karabakh away from home. With big tests to come in the league at the end of the week, Enzo Maresca took it on himself to give squad players the opportunity to show what they could do in a very interesting game in Azerbaijan. There were starts for Tyreek George, Estevão, Jamie Gittins, Andre Santos, Romeo Lavia and Hato as well. Yet, within the 4th minute of the game, tragedy strikes again for Romeo Lavia, who leaves with a muscular-related injury. But Chelsea didn't allow for any negativity to affect this performance, because within the 16th minute, Estevão Willian makes it 2 out of 2 goals in the Champions League, expertly coming in from the right-hand side before crashing his low-driven effort right into the bottom of the net. Now, normally in prior circumstances, the first goal always was the catalyst to lead to even more. However, Chelsea took on a Karabakh team that completely surprised them, as Karabakh were unrelenting with their pace, their energy, their intensity, and they might have been one of the quickest teams that Chelsea have played against in recent times. Because 30 minutes later, Karabakh equalized courtesy of Leandro Andrade, and suddenly Karabakh are the ones setting the precedent in the game and rightfully ending the first half, making it 2-1 courtesy of Marko Jankovic's penalty, as Jurel Hato makes a terrible blunder in a game that he was definitely taken by surprise and really struggled in. Maresca knew that changes were needed in the second half. Alejandro Garnacho was introduced on the field, and in the 53rd minute, Garnacho equalizes from the spot after a very dangerous breakaway for Chelsea. 2-2, the game was on a knife edge, but sadly Chelsea are unable to capitalize, and maybe that's for good reasons, because we were definitely surprised by the physicality that Karabakh introduced in this game. And it was a reminder that maybe Chelsea aren't aren't completely ready to completely trust all their confidence in the B team, as it seems they need some hand-holding with some first-team stars. With Chelsea being humbled a bit against Carabao, the focus turned to the home game against Wolves for round 2. After an epic 4-3 win away from home in the Carabao Cup, Chelsea looked to make sure that Wolves had no sniff on goal or no opportunities, as Chelsea played a dominant game to make it 3-0 at home. Wolves came into this game after sacking Vitor Pereira, citing poor recruitment errors and poor team selections on his part. He was later replaced by former Wolves legend in Robert Edwards, who they just signed for Middlesbrough. So Chelsea went into this game against an opponent they had no time to really prepare for. But in the end, this worked completely in our favour, as we dominated the game with 18 shots compared to Wolves' 3-7 on target against 0 with 64% possession to Wolves' 36 possession. We had to be patient though to open the deadlock. After showing some promise in the first half, the floodworks opened up straight in the second half, and who better than to finally score his first goals in his Chelsea career before his 100th appearance in a Chelsea shirt, other than Malo Gusto, who finds himself unmarked on the right hand side, steering in Garnacho's in-swinging cross to score with his header. Once that goal went in, Wolves' heads started to drop, as this time Chelsea make it 2-0. Estevão holds up the Wolves defenders on the right hand side before drilling in a cross into the box, deflecting off Pedro Neto, with Joao Pedro expertly smashing the ball into the net. And the moment that added salt to wounds came courtesy of Pedro Neto scoring yet again against Wolves, Alejandro Garnacho bursting down the left hand side on a counter-attack, driving towards goal before expertly playing a pass across goal to find the onrushing Pedro Neto. A devastating counter-attack, very simple, very beautiful, and just the perfect result needed before international break reared its ugly head. But one thing we learned was that it seemed like Maresca's positional play was starting to evolve, as there was more focus this time on width, wide play, and fullbacks allowed the license to bomb forward. Let's just say it added new dimensions to how Chelsea were able to cope against that parked bus. With international break over, many a Chelsea fan were casting their eyes at the end of the month fixtures. Barcelona and Arsenal, two games that could really typify what this season could be about. But before that, we had a pesky little test against Burnley. And within the first 15 minutes of the game, Burnley put up a fight. And they reminded us why we can't be complacent against teams like this. They were constantly finding avenues on counter-attacks down our right-hand side, constantly made diagonal runs to stretch and split our defensive lines, and force many a wonder tackle to deny them for possibly securing something in this game. Maresca though realized that something wasn't making sense, because he knew that he set the team out differently. Expecting Burnley to set up in a back five, he was taken by surprise by their bold 4-3-3 Barca. With Enzo Maresca, he doesn't make mistakes twice. And within the 20th minute, Chelsea were fully back in control, with the masterstroke decision being Cucurella finding himself in an inverted role, forming a pivot in midfield. This allowed Chelsea the central passages and connections to start to play through Burnley's midfield press. Pedro Neto opened the scoreline yet again, coming in with a diving header to open the scoreline. This was a superb goal that was demonstrating that Chelsea was starting to find possibilities and solutions against teams that looked to sit back and defend. With Chelsea 1-0 up, it seemed like their domination was set to be a formality. Yet again, similar to other games, Chelsea were unable to make it 2-0 when it mattered. However, Chelsea could stop worrying in the 88th minute when Pedro Neto's incisive reverse ball in behind releases Marcu, with the young Spaniard striker showing some serious striker experience to get his body in front of his man, outmuscle his opponent, drive towards the goal before cutting back his pass to the unmarked Enzo Fernandez. After a troubling 20 minutes, Chelsea expertly controlled this game, but this game will forever be remembered for Andre Santos' emergence as a serious replacement for Moises Caicedo, with Andre Santos single-handedly running the midfield, breaking up play, kick-starting attacks, and seriously pushing for a first-team spot. With Chelsea carrying good form behind them, the game that the entire fanbase had been waiting for since the summer was finally here. Chelsea vs Barcelona, the historic European rivalry that has brought forth so many Hollywood moments. Hollywood Games and brought the very best out of players looking to make their mark. Barcelona went into this game with supreme confidence after annihilating Athletic Bilbao 4-0. Barcelona, feeling the confidence behind them, felt like this was an amazing opportunity to secure automatic qualification spots in the Champions League table. However, they were up against a different beast in Chelsea FC. And from the opening minutes of this game, Chelsea looked bright but almost gifted the game to Barcelona as a terrible mistake nearly allowed Ferran Torres to make his mark in the 3rd minute. However, he completely loses his composure, and that was the greatest mistake Barcelona could make, because from that moment, Chelsea remained locked in this game like you have never seen before. The press was unrelenting, bullying Barcelona, forcing turnovers, until the moment Chelsea fans have been waiting for comes courtesy of Pedro Neto forcing a deflected effort off of Jules Koundé. After Chelsea's short set piece OP pattern continues to bring goals for the team, Cucurella coming in with the assist to open up the scoring. Chelsea fans in delirium. It really felt like this was going to be the night Chelsea made their mark. And things got even better when Cucurella, yet again at the heart of everything good that Chelsea did, is able to get Ronald Araujo his 2nd yellow of the game. With Barcelona down to 10 men, it felt like all hope was lost. But in the 2nd half, the magical moment of the game came courtesy of our star boy, our prodigy in the making in Estevão, who scores the best goal of the Champions League so far after some inspired team build-up play, fast, incisive attacks, releases Estevão with Estevão only thinking about the headline moments once the game was over. He receives the ball on the right-hand side and then ride a challenge to blast the goal past Juan Garcia with his weaker foot. It was exceptional, and it made the Stamford Bridge fans absolutely delirious. If this is a taster of things to come under this kid, boy, is this next 8 years of Estevão going to be something special. And the moment to complete Chelsea's dominance came courtesy of some exceptional team play from Enzo Fernandez, with Pedro Neto at the heart of a counter-attack, releasing Enzo in time, with Enzo slotting a pass across goal for Liam Delap to finish. Chelsea end the game with 3 goals, but the scoreline doesn't reflect the dominance on show, with Chelsea having 3 disallowed goals against Barcelona. This was a massacre, with Chelsea regularly exploiting Barcelona's high line. Enzo Maresca surprising the entire Stamford Bridge fans by placing Pedro Neto up front over his 90 million reinforcements in Joao Pedro and Liam Delap. And the lesson from this game was Chelsea aren't beating strugglers, they're now dominating European royalty. Everything clicked perfectly for Chelsea, and this was the first big announcement to the rest of the world. Chelsea's project has some serious weight. After an exceptional month in November, the final big challenge comes 30th November as Chelsea face Arsenal at home at Stamford Bridge. The media have been hyping this game up. Arsenal, 6 points clear at the table. This was their perfect opportunity to lift the Premier League title. Chelsea, surprising the league, finding themselves in 2nd place. If there was ever a game to showcase that there was a title challenge, this was the clash that every Premier League fan had been waiting for. Arsenal showcasing their new powers after destroying Tottenham and then ruthlessly executing Bayern Munich. If Arsenal were really serious about this league, they were up against a Chelsea team who have no fear against the big boys in this game. And yet again, the lineup reflected Chelsea's mentality. Reece James, Enzo Fernandez, and Moises Caicedo, the big game tactic midfield, were ready to go toe-to-toe against Eze, Declan Rice, and Zubimendi. So obviously, it was natural to expect that Chelsea's midfield was going to win that battle. But it wasn't Moises, it wasn't Enzo Fernandez. Tonight, it was Reece James who stepped up to not only show that he's the best right back in the world, but now he has serious claims of being one of the best midfield players in Europe too, as he absolutely ran the show. The game was forever going to be a tactics off between Arteta and Enzo Maresca, 2 former disciples of Pep Guardiola. Both managers' close friendships would want to heavily test themselves against each other, yet Arteta on the day had no answers to Enzo Maresca's ruthless, proactive, and intense midfield, with Chelsea regularly not only winning the midfield battle, but forcing turnovers and mistakes, and forcing Arsenal to play long balls out from the back to escape pressure. The moment that changed this game forever came courtesy of Moises Caicedo and Marino, with Moises, as it studs up Chad challenge was rightfully ruled as a red card after VAR re-inspection. Chelsea found themselves down to 10 men yet again this season. Maresca's a manager that doesn't make the same mistake twice. The only sub he makes in the first half is Estevão off for Garnacho, and in the 52nd minute, Reece James runs towards the Stamford Bridge faithful to take a corner. He wants the fans behind the team, and Reece James steps up. His in-swinging corner perfectly drops on the head of Chelsea Academy star and Trevor Chalobah, who jalabates all over Arsenal at the near post, flicking in with a deft header to give Chelsea a 1-0 lead. Absolute delirium, and Chelsea went into this second half with new purpose. It was a shame then, moments not long after, Arsenal equalise. The only uncharacteristic mistake Chelsea make in the game gets punished as the annoying, effervescent Marino finds himself unmarked from a Saka cross to head in to make it 1-1. And Arsenal, with all the advantages they had, with the additions of Odegaard, Gyökeres, Miles Skelly, and more to come off the bench, had zero answers or solutions to a powerful, confident, and rearguard Chelsea team. The game ends 1-1, but Chelsea leave the game the better team, and a team more ready now for the difficult December period, which is the only month that rightfully tells you who the title challengers are and who the title pretenders really are. So, where does the month of November leave Chelsea? After a month which started off in Tottenham, ends at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea go unbeaten during November, picking up 2 draws, finding themselves third in the Premier League table, still 6 points behind Arsenal. But this was the month that Chelsea earned the respect of the rest of the world. Every big game showcase this month was a further advert for Clearlake's strategy to turn Chelsea into one of the best teams in the world by focusing on a young and youthful core. This was the month that Chelsea looked like they came of age under Enzo Maresca's setup and system. And this is the month that leaves Chelsea perfectly poised and ready for the difficult challenge that is the Christmas period. So my friends, that's my main takeaways from Chelsea in the month of November. My question is for you, what did you learn about Chelsea in November? Drop your thoughts below. Make sure you guys subscribe to Blue Lines TV, and if you want to help the channel out, always have those notification buttons on to stay up to date with all uploads. If you want to see more of these videos, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys again with this video at the end of December.